Hello, and welcome to Friday Night Vedder Mysteries. I'm your host and mystery guide, Wolf Luger. What qualifies me as a mystery guide, you ask? Far too many stories that would absolutely chill you to the bone, I assure you, if you're interested. Oh, you are interested? No, I suspect you're just toying with me. How coy you are. Maybe another time, then? Okay, then. Let's get into it, shall we? What you're about to watch is France in the mid-1800s. If men needed to settle something, quite often it was deadly. The duel. The formal fight of honor between two combatants to settle a score. Its outcome is final and, yes, fatal. Today's episode delves into the true story of how a score is to be settled between two influential French noblemen. We'll hear about honor and hatred, competing and cheating, and, of course, death. Let's listen now as our master narrator, Ed Stone, leads us into an affair of honor.
The Paris of 1845, under King Louis Philippe, was essentially a world of the theatres, the boulevards, of society in which a hasty word, spoken in the heat of wine, might well lead to a meeting next morning at some lonely spot in the Bois de Boulogne, where honour would be satisfied one way or the other. There was also a good deal of political unrest at the time, and therefore a corresponding rivalry between the two leading newspapers, La Presse and Le Globe. Charles de Jarrier, a brilliant young journalist, was part owner and editor of La Presse. He was also on very friendly terms with Lola Montez, already well known in England and the continent, late to become world famous. This story opens on an evening in early March at Charles de Jarrier's apartment in the Rue Lafitte, where he is entertaining Lola Montez.
Cut and thrust, parry and riposte, so they go on, these two magnificent swordsmen, their blades flashing in the moonlight, high on the castle turret. Soon they have fought to the very edge. There is no further retreat save into the yawning depth below. One of them must go over, or else be run through. But which? Aha, which?
Not D'Artagnan, I trust.
And why not, my good Charles du Jarrier?
Oh, no, it wouldn't be D'Artagnan. That would mean the end of the story.
And the end of La Presse. I've promised readers at least another fortnight of the Three Musketeers, remember?
Today was the first time I ever missed an installment. Oh, Monsieur Dumas, you have all Paris, all France on tenterhooks. By 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, there won't be a copy of La Presse left on the stalls. And it's the same thing every day.
So long as it carries a serial by Alexander Dumas, eh?
Won't you please tell me who wins the fight on the castle turret? I just can't wait until tomorrow.
I don't even know myself as yet.
You don't know. Good heavens, man. We go to press at midnight, and the sheets must be there at least an hour before that. I left word that...
Don't worry, my friend. You shall have them in good time.
Monsieur Dumas is a genius.
Commercial genius would be more correct, my dear Lola.
You think my works will not live then, Charles?
At the present rate of output, more than 30 octave volumes in a single year, then how could they live?
Oh, I don't agree. Monsieur Dumas has done something to Paris. People seem much gayer, happier, more carefree. The talk in the cafes and on the boulevards is no longer of politics and scandal, but of what is going to happen in tomorrow's installment. There's not a man, from the highest to the lowest, who doesn't secretly fancy himself as a sword-flashing hero like D'Artagnan. It has opened up an entirely new romantic era in public taste. how can I put it? An era of the cloak and the dagger.
The cloak and dagger era. My dear Lola, that's wonderful. I must make note of it.
And be sure that your rival Le Globe doesn't get in with it first. Have you seen Rosemont de Beauvalon lately?
Is it possible to avoid anyone in Paris?
De Beauvalon is a dangerous man, my friend. Never forget that his brother by marriage is editor of Le Globe, and which your own paper has lampooned and held up to ridicule in the political field. Worse than that, thanks to my stories, the sale of La Presse have soared to make a laughingstock of Le Globe. And if I know de Beauvalon, he is not a man who thinks in terms of newspaper sales, but of personalities. And that means you, my boy.
Don't worry. I've done my best to humor the fellow. I even accepted an article of his the other week. Oh, yes. De Beauvalon fancies himself as an author, too, you know. We've not used it yet, of course, but anyway. He'll be there tonight at Annabella's party.
Annabella, eh?
Charles, if you please, is deserting me tonight for the more entertaining Society of Actresses from the Vaudeville Company.
Of course, Lola was invited too, but I have my own reasons for not wishing for her to attend.
Should I be suspicious, Monsieur Dumas? Or just plain jealous?
As the most feminine of women, my dear Lola Montez, I know you will be both. And for once, I bear a deep grudge against my friend D'Artagnan. But for him, I would stay and keep your company tonight. As it is, I must go home and finish the fight on the castle turret.
And for obvious reasons, I won't detain you.
There'd be another revolution in France if no installment appeared tomorrow.
Oh, don't worry, don't worry. I've never yet let my public down. The cloak and dagger age, eh?
A great man, a truly great man.
And a headache to poor editors like myself.
Charles, must you go to this party tonight?
Unfortunately. It's all in the nature of my business, remember?
Then take me with you.
No.
I have a horrible feeling that something is going to happen there tonight. I can't explain it. For one thing, you've never given any good reason for not wanting me to come too.
It's just that I don't consider it desirable company for you. After all...
Perhaps it is that you don't wish me to meet de Beauvalon. Is he such a lady killer that you doubt my constancy?
What do you think?
Or is it because of what Dumas said about him?
Of course not. You mustn't take any notice of Alexander. His imagination runs riot.
Nevertheless, you will be careful.
Careful? Of what?
I don't know. I tell you, I don't know. Except that there will be much wine, and it goes to your head so quickly. De Beauvalon will be there, and... Charles, am I right in believing that you love me?
Isn't it enough to know that I'd marry you tonight if you were free?
Well, that's just it. I've been bad, wicked already. I'm a notorious woman, I suppose, but it hasn't altogether been my fault. And yet sometimes I fear that the punishment for my sins will be shared by someone I really love, by you.
Nonsense. You've been talking to too many authors and poets. This life of the boulevards is doing you no good. But I tell you, Lola, darling, in the spring, I shall take you away on a long holiday. Provence, the Pyrenees, Seville, Madrid.
Oh, wonderful.
But for the moment, a glass of wine, and then I must change. In honor of her ladyship, Annabella of the Vaudeville.
Oh, my dear Roger Darcy, you are so droll, so amusing. I could spend a whole night long listening to your stories.
In which case, Annabella, I fancy my friend de Beugeling here might be just a trifle jealous, eh?
I would indeed. And yet if it would please Annabella, well, I must confess myself a slave to her slightest whim.
Oh, and what about you, Monsieur de Jarret? You should devote a whole daily column in La Presse entirely to Roger Darcy's stories.
What a splendid idea! Splendid!
Surely you know by now, my dear Annabella, that La Presse, like its owner, appreciates an entirely different sense of humour.
Oh, come now, Rosamond. That isn't true. Is it, Monsieur de Jarret?
If de Beugeling says so, then it must be. Nevertheless, it seems that he and I have this much in common. Just to please you, mademoiselle, I would change the entire policy of the paper.
I take exception to that remark. If Charles du Jarrier must drink wine, then let him confine his compliments to...
Oh, Rosamond, don't be so jealous, so childish. Monsieur de Jarret was only joking, wasn't he, Roger?
Yes, of course.
Then I, for one, am not amused.
Oh, but we are, aren't we, everybody? Waiter, more wine. Come on, everyone. A flutter at the card table. Oh, the evening has scarcely begun.
The bank wins!
And poor Monsieur du Jarret has lost another 500 francs.
Making 3,000 in all. Did ever a man have such a damnable run of cards?
Oh, no doubt Monsieur is much too lucky in love.
Which reminds me, it must be getting on for 5 o'clock.
Charles, my good fellow, a word in your ear. De Beugeling has been trying to pick a quarrel with you all night. I've seen the devil's expression in his eyes every time he's looked at you. Leave now before he has one final go at making trouble.
Don't worry. Don't worry. I'm off now anyway.
The 500 francs, Monsieur de Jarret? You forgot to pay the bank?
Oh, yes. Yes, of course. Hello, I appear to be cleaned out. I'll have to owe it, I'm afraid, until the bank opens.
Oh, well, of course. That's understandable. You've had such wretched luck.
I will lend du Jarrier 500 francs with pleasure.
Thank you, but I must refuse.
And why must you refuse? On the contrary, you would appear to be very good at accepting things. Articles, for instance, for La Presse. Articles which, however, don't get published.
Careful, Charles.
Well, is it unreasonable to ask why my article, accepted more than 3 weeks ago, has not yet appeared in print?
At this hour and place, yes.
I don't agree. I demand to know why.
Then since you must know, because you are only a small pebble on the beach, there are other far more important writers to be considered, and you must take your turn.
So, you try to insult me?
On the contrary, you asked for it.
And you refuse my offer of a 500 franc loan?
Absolutely.
Why?
That is obvious.
I demand to know the reason.
Because I would sooner owe money to the head waiter.
Then you have said enough, monsieur. My friends will call upon you tomorrow.
You fool! That's just what he wanted.
Come in. Yes, what is it, Gaston? Oh, by the way, these proofs are now corrected. Take him to the typeset room for resetting.
Yes, Monsieur de Roger. In the meantime, there are 2 gentlemen to see you.
2 gentlemen. Yes, of course.
Their cards, monsieur.
Show them in, Gaston.
But, monsieur, has not so much as glanced at their names.
As if it mattered.
Pardon, monsieur.
Eh? Oh, their names. Suppose you tell me, Gaston.
They are the Comte de Fleur and the Vicomte de Equeville.
Dickville, eh? Oh well. Show them in.
Very good, monsieur.
Dickville. Birds of a feather.
I think you know why we are here, Monsieur Dujarrier.
But not for the world, my dear Vicomte, would I rob you of your petty, formal little speech. Besides, gentlemen, this is the first time for me, remember?
We represent Monsieur Rosamond de Beauvillon. And we come to demand satisfaction for the insults which he received from you last night.
Insults from me! What ridiculous nonsense. It was I who found myself provoked beyond the human limit. In any case, the words on both sides were spoken in the head of wine. Oh, the whole thing is so utterly childish. Why?
Are we to understand, Monsieur Dujarrier, that you are unwilling to defend your honor?
No. No, of course not.
Then will you please name two of your own friends to act for you, monsieur?
Let me see now. Alexander Dumas
Dumas?
or Darcy. Roger Darcy.
Dumas and Darcy. We shall call upon them and make the necessary arrangements. As the challenged party, Monsieur Dujarrier, you have the choice of weapons. It is hardly necessary to remind you that de Beauvillon is a swordsman of some distinction.
And equally handy with a pistol, no doubt.
Monsieur de Beauvillon is a crack shot.
Whereas this, you see this pen? That's the only weapon I've ever known from childhood. A fat lot of use in a duel.
You should have thought of that last night. We await your choice, monsieur. Which is it to be, swords or pistols?
Well, nothing can go wrong with the sword, I suppose, and no doubt extremely painful. Whereas a pistol has been known to misfire, I choose pistols.
Pistols. Very well. It only remains now to discuss the final details with your friends. I bid you good day, monsieur. Good day, Monsieur Dujarrier.
Pistols for two. Coffee for one. Oh, God, what am I going to tell Lola?
You are worried about something, Charles. It must be the very first time I've seen a shadow across your face. Tell me, what is it?
Nothing. I assure you, I'm just tired, that's all. It was a pretty strenuous party last night.
Charles, I was right after all. Something did happen last night, didn't it?
I told you. I lost 3,000 francs.
Well, even that shouldn't worry you unduly. But it isn't that. It's something else. There was trouble last night, wasn't there?
Yes, but...
What kind of trouble?
I tell you, there's nothing to worry about. It's just that... Well, there'll be a meeting, of course.
A meeting? With whom? Oh, no, not de Beauvillon. Oh, my God, no. You can't do this, Charles. Do you hear me? You can't do it. You've never fought a duel in your life, whereas de Beauvillon, it'd be suicide, murder. I shall go to the police and have it stopped.
Like all women, my beautiful Lola, you jump to conclusions.
You mean it's not de Beauvillon? Then who else could it be?
Oh, it's all rather childish, really, but, well, you know how these things happen over wine.
And women. But who is it? Tell me who has challenged you to a duel.
None other than my very good friend, Roger Darcy.
Darcy?
At least I thought of my friend.
Roger Darcy?
Is it as funny as that? After all, the pistols will be loaded, you know.
Oh, my darling. When you told me about a meeting, I could think of no one else but de Beugeling, and my heart seemed to stand still. I was suffocated with the fear for you. But Roger Darcy? When and where?
The day after tomorrow, in the Bois de Boulogne.
Oh, it'll be which of two haystacks can miss the other first.
Possibly. Nevertheless, I wish to extract a promise from you.
Well?
I do not wish you to leave the apartment at any time tomorrow, on any pretext whatever.
But why not?
I've no power to command you, of course, but that is my dearest wish.
You will come and see me tomorrow night?
Yes, of course.
Then, very well.
Good evening, Monsieur Dumas.
I wish to speak to the Vicomte d'Ecqueville.
Yes, monsieur. This way, please. Okay. Monsieur Alexandre Dumas.
Oh, come in, Monsieur Dumas. The Beugeling and I were just having a final word together before tomorrow morning.
My apologies, gentlemen, for intruding.
I understand you to say, Viscount, that all details for tomorrow's meeting were cut and dried. However, if Dumas is here to suggest alterations at the 11th hour, then I'd best leave you to it.
On the contrary, de Beugeling, you will oblige me by remaining.
No doubt Monsieur Dumas has come to see the pistols I have offered to provide.
No.
I can assure you of their merit, monsieur. They cost 700 francs and have scarcely been used.
No, I take your word for it, Vicomte. At the same time, it is quite unnecessary to remind you once again that under the rules of dueling, neither principal shall have access to or practice with the weapons beforehand.
That is understood, monsieur.
Good.
Do I take it then that we are honored with a purely social visit from the great Alexandre Dumas?
It would be better still, gentlemen, if you regarded me at this moment as a citizen of Paris, rather than the author of distinction, least of all as one of Charles Dujarrier's attendants at tomorrow's meeting.
And the subject of your mission, Citizen Dumas?
To ask you to reconsider this gross, damnably unfair encounter, which can have but one result.
Reconsider it?
You know what all Paris is saying, and I agree, that this quarrel is not between two private individuals, but between two rival newspapers, Le Globe and La Presse. Mon Dieu, since when have men fought duels in defense of their business?
My dear Dumas, this is but an overflow of your notorious powers of imagination.
You cannot deny having forced the issue, deliberately picked the quarrel, because your kinsman proves unable to hold his own in the world of pen and ink. You take it upon yourself to seek revenge in blood, upon a young man who has never so much as handled a weapon in his life.
A man who cannot handle a weapon should at least know how to handle his tongue. You are wrong, Dumas. I seek no more than honor demands. Satisfaction for personal insults.
You expect the world to believe that? Look, de Beugeling, I speak still as a citizen of Paris and not as Charles Dujarrier's friend. The encounter tomorrow may well result in death. Have you thought of that?
I have considered the matter from every angle.
In that case, it would be murder, moral murder. You would have this man's blood on your conscience and take it with you to the grave.
Do you suggest that out of sentiment, I withdraw the challenge, climb down to become the laughingstock of Paris?
I suggest to Beugeling that there is still time to reach an amicable settlement with honor.
Then you waste your time.
Have you no scruples, no shreds of a conscience?
Coming from Monsieur Alexandre Dumas, of all people, such sentiment is both interesting and amusing. Can this be the same man who has fired all France with a spirit of swordsmanship in the duel, of gay, unscrupulous adventure in which mere words count for nothing?
In my plays and novels, every fight is a fair one. Men meet here on common ground with weapons common to both. You will find in each of them the spirit of chivalry, of sportsmanship and fair play. But I see, as de Beugeling says, I waste my time.
That is only too true.
Shall we say then, until tomorrow morning, monsieur, at 9 o'clock in the Bois?
The paper is put to bed, Gaston. You may go home and do the same yourself.
Thank you, Monsieur de Charrier. But you surely don't think I could sleep tonight, do you?
Nonsense. You'll sleep like a top. You'll find certain letters on the desk here in the morning. If by any chance I should not be here by 11 o'clock, I want them delivered. You understand? Well, do you understand?
Oh, monsieur. Surely there must be some way out.
Honor must be satisfied. That is the unwritten law of France.
Yes, monsieur. I shall pray for you.
Thanks, Gaston. And now, good night.
Good night, Monsieur de Charrier. And the very best of luck.
My dearest Lola, if you receive this letter, it will be because all is over, and you will know the truth. I cannot come to you tonight, for all my calmness is needed, and the sight of your dear face might tempt me to waver from my purpose. If you have cause to weep, it is better that your tears be shed over one who was worthy of you, rather than a coward. Life is sweet, but only when we see the grinning mask of death is it given to us to know just how sweet.
Ah, magnificent de Beugeling. A couple of bull's-eye. And in this half-light, too. There is no question. The pistols suit you.
Just as well to have made absolutely certain.
Your only difficulty will be to keep warm. Unless I'm mistaken, there's more snow on the way. Well, what's the matter?
I thought I saw a figure over there, beyond that far hedge.
Probably Andre, my head gardener. He's an early bird all the year round. However, we better hide the pistols.
And as a preliminary step to keeping warm, my dear d'Ecqueville, you shall take breakfast with me at the Café Colette, a little favourite of mine, on the edge of the Bois.
I fear there's scarcely time for that. Remember, we have to call at the gunsmith for more powder.
And I say it'll do no harm to keep them waiting. Would you have me go out to fight on an empty stomach? Besides, I have a busy day ahead of me after this meeting, to say nothing of a luncheon appointment with Annabella.
We are the first to arrive, I see.
And what a morning for a duel. Snow on the ground and more to come by the look of that leaden sky.
I fear you're right, Darcy, and if they keep us waiting long in this, we shall all be in need of treatment, eh, Doctor?
We've a healthy flask of cognac between the four of us. That should prove the best medicine, I fancy.
And Charles, my friend, your teeth are already chattering with the cold. Come, a swig of cognac and then a little walk to stretch our legs, eh?
Thank you. I am all right.
You'll never believe it, but I once challenged Balzac to a duel. I often wonder what would have happened had he not been taken seriously ill the night before. By the time he sufficiently recovered, our little difference had blown over.
This is despicable, outrageous, to keep us waiting over an hour, and on a morning like this.
Some more cognac, Monsieur Dumas. As for me, I can scarcely feel my toes.
Perhaps he's had an accident. Or I say, wouldn't it be a joke if de Beugeling was sick and ill, just like Balzac was?
Believe me, my friend, no such miracle has occurred to save Charles Dujarrier. This is a deliberate attempt to increase the demoralizing agony and suspense of our principal. Look at him, standing there, as pale as death and shivering with the cold. And what is that, compared with the icy chill that must be at grips with his heart at this moment?
Yes, poor devil.
This cannot go on. I'll speak to him. Charles Dujarrier, more than an hour has passed since the time arranged for this meeting, and there is still no sign of Rosamond de Beugeling. We may well say, therefore, that he has failed to keep the appointment. The doctor here and Darcy will agree with me that you would be at liberty now to quit the field without disgrace. You will do this, Charles? Come, let us get back to warmth, civilization, and a good square meal.
No. I will fight. I am a Frenchman, and my honor is very dear to me.
Believe me, Charles Dujarrier, France will not forget this day in a hurry.
Listen, I thought I heard a carriage.
You're right. Here they come, at last.
1,000 pardons, gentlemen, for the delay, which I assure you was quite unavoidable.
Ye gods, do you think this is a summer's morning? I trust, Vicomte d'Acqueville, that your principal is not suffering from the cold.
On the contrary, we are ready when you are.
You have the pistols.
Here, primed and loaded.
A handsome but no less formidable pair of weapons.
I noticed. Yes. This barrel is already blackened with powder.
The same thing applies to this one. And the metal is not so cold as might be expected. Vicomte d'Acqueville, both these pistols have been fired recently, this morning.
But not by my principal. I must confess, gentlemen, that I tried them out myself. They had not been used for so long, and I wanted to make sure that everything was in order.
We have your word of honor as a gentleman of France that de Beugeling has not used or handled these pistols?
As a gentleman of France, monsieur.
Then we cannot persist in the objection. Rosamond de Beugeling, I make this one final plea for an amicable settlement. With honor.
As I told you last night, Dumas, you are wasting time.
Then let us proceed.
It is agreed that the combatants shall stand 30 paces apart. Upon the dropping of the handkerchief, each will advance 6 paces and then fire. Perhaps Monsieur Darcy will perhaps drop the handkerchief?
Yes. Very well. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Now, Charles, get a grip on yourself, my friend. You feel warmer for the cognac?
Yes.
Good. At 30 paces, de Beugeling looks a long way off, eh? But it'll be nearer 18 when you come to fire. Take careful aim. Restrain the breathing, and above all, don't be in too much of a hurry. You understand?
I understand.
Then God be with you.
I can hardly bring myself to let this handkerchief go.
Heaven knows we've waited long enough for the moment. Now!
Dujarrier has fired!
At random, all but into the blue. Nom de Dieu, the idiot, the fool! I told him!
Why doesn't de Beugeling fire? His pistol is jammed.
Not on your life. Can't you see? He has all the time in the world for a deliberate aim. And Charles must stand there. Merciful God.
I can bear this no longer. Shoot, man! For God's sake, shoot!
I can see nothing for smoke. He's hit. Dujarrier's hit. Quick, doctor!
I can do little for him. The ball has passed right through his face.
A bullseye. For de Beugeling. This was murder in its ugliest guise.
It seems he wishes to speak. Hurry, Monsieur Dumas. He hasn't long.
Charles, mon ami, my very dear friend.
Tell Lola I had to defend my...
He is gone.
A brave man, monsieur.
Yes, brave. But how many of us know the true meaning of that word? Bravery is to do something of which one is mortally afraid. Myself, I have not even the courage to tell Lola. You will do this for me, doctor?
If you wish it, monsieur.
I said just now that France would not forget this day in a hurry. I say again that France will remember.
Intriguing, yes? Some trickery, yes? No? What do we make of the duelers? With Dujarrier dead, what happens to de Beugeling? What really took place there in the garden between de Beugeling and d'Ecqueville? So many unanswered questions. I was just about to explain what might be going on in this captivating tale, but I realized we were all out of time for this episode. I'm sure you'll want to hear the exciting conclusion of An Affair of Honor next time, right here on Friday Night Vedder Mysteries. I'm your host and mystery guide, Wolf Luger. Join us next time, or else.